Welcome to WVU Football Going Deep. I'm Forrest Poston. I apologize for my particularly shaggy look today. Would like to say that it is because I've been following all of the basketball stories and just too busy, but it has more to do with a lack of self-discipline and being lazy. And I did want to get to this video. Today, talking about a rather popular subject, although sometimes an unpopular person. Former coach Rich Rodriguez and the legend. When Rodriguez left, a whole lot of people were somewhere on the far side of angry. Many of them right now would welcome him back as coach because they remember those last 3 years when things were so very good right up until the Pitt game. And they think those 3 years represent Rodriguez as a coach. But if you look at his whole record, it's a different story. And of course, we know what happened to start the legend. It was the Louisville game. It was Pat White, Steve Slayton, Owen Schmidt, and Darius Renaud. After that, things got really good. But it was all about that quartet with a great line, a system that defenses weren't used to yet, and we had good times. Before that, we had fair times. His record at West Virginia, winning percentage was well over 600. Nothing like the over 800 of those last 3 years. But it was good enough so that fans only complained part of the time. Such as after the bowl game losses. First 3 bowl games were losses. It was only those big years that we won big in the bowl game. Got the national attention. People thought we were going to be making a run for the national championship year after year. That was never going to happen under Rodriguez. He got lucky. As a coach, Rodriguez is barely above average. That's what his record shows, and it's fairly overwhelming compared to just 3 years with a particular set of players. Also has a lot to do with Jeff Castile as defensive coordinator, because Rodriguez is also not a very detailed recruiter. He does not recruit to build a consistent team. His teams end up having gaps, either in particular positions or in terms of experience. He'll get a good offensive line in place and then not really recruit for the offensive line for several years in a row. So next thing you know, you have nobody with experience on the offensive line. On the defensive side, Castile just had to put together a defense with whatever Rodriguez gave him. And somehow, most years, Castile did it. When the Pitt game came, it shouldn't have been a surprise. May not have expected Pitt to be the one to do it. Perhaps the surprise is that other teams hadn't already done the same thing Pitt did. Now, USF was winning or giving WVU a tough time because their defense had speed, and that could match the speed on the spread offense. Pitt won by recognizing that Rodriguez was running his offense into the ground literally. He had shrunken the playbook so much that it was really a fairly small number of reads that became predictable. And I suspect that Pittsburgh knew those reads, tricked West Virginia into making a read, and then knew where the play was going. They also played a defense that didn't worry much about downfield passes, particularly downfield over the middle, because Rodriguez wasn't doing it. He was, the last year, over a third of the receptions went to Renaud. Most of those were screen passes. And eventually, it doesn't matter how fast you are, the defense catches on. And I think maybe subconsciously Rodriguez knew that if he stayed at West Virginia, things were going back to 7 or 8 wins and a bowl loss pretty quickly. Might have still gotten 10 wins the next year. After that, he was going back to working class coach. And I don't think he was up for it. Now, of course, the Michigan job, that's a top job in college football, and I can't blame him for taking that job. How he did it riles just about everybody. On the other hand, Michigan got upset because he took the job. He was not a good coach there. And partly because he didn't have Jeff Castile to try to keep the other team from scoring 50 points when he scored 45. And, of course, Rodriguez broke any rule that he felt like breaking, and that got the attention of the NCAA at Michigan, led them to investigate WVU as well, got West Virginia in trouble. He went on to Arizona, got in trouble there for other reasons, had one really good year and a few fair years. His record winning percentage was a bit over 500 there. His post-West Virginia winning overall, one game over 500. That's it. That's not what you expect from some special coach. We had 3 special seasons, minus the Pitt game, and we should enjoy them. But don't give Rodriguez more credit than he deserves. He fell into it. And he didn't really use it all that well. Look at the Fiesta Bowl. The one big difference that Bill Stewart made was telling Calvin McGee to open the offense and more downfield passing. Stewart did more in that game with that offense than Rodriguez had the nerve to try. Imagine what those 3 seasons might have been with a little more daring and downfield passing. That national championship might have happened. I'll be doing more coaching reviews. I will talk a lot more about Bill Stewart, Dana Holgerson, Neil Brown, and possibly Jeff Castile, who has to be my all-time favorite defensive coordinator. I'll see you later. And I forgot to ask you to subscribe. Most of you have already left the video, but if you're still here, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, and I'll talk to you next time.